Hello, everyone. Chris Schultz, FridayNightVictors.com. Once again, we are at our video series. We're Zooming. I've got Gary Hoff with me, and I've got Frank Vajner. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Fabulous.
Doing well after a busy day at work and middle school football assignment changing hands multiple times today because I was originally supposed to go to Britton Deerfield. That's not happening because of COVID. Then it was Sand Creek, and now it's Whiteford, which is going to be much easier for me to do because that doesn't start till 6 o'clock, and I'll be off work early enough to go home, change clothes, and get there in time.
Well, it sounds like you're doing well.
And I'm doing great.
All right, good to hear. So this is going to be our Week 5 wrap-up, and then we're going to do our Week 6 picks, and in between we will have our questions series that has gone over pretty well. So I'm just going to toggle through some games here. And first one that jumps out at me is Blissfield 42, Ida 40. Frank, tell us about your Blue Streaks.
Well, when I saw the score of this one after I got done officiating, I was in shock. It's like, okay, where did this come from? What happened? And it sounds like Ida threw everything but the kitchen sink into this one. I mean, Nate Miller had himself a game, throwing the ball. Luke Levicki, he had a great game running and catching the ball as well. And they really gave Blissfield problems. I mean, it's an outcome I can't explain because Blissfield beat two teams Ida lost to by double digits each time, and Ida only lose to Blissfield. It's tough to explain. So, but then again, I'll echo what I said the previous week in our staff questions post. I think the pilot lights turned on for Jeff Potter's team. They played better the last 2 weeks, and even though they did lose, there's a lot of things that they're getting better at. And maybe this is the right time things are starting to come together with it being the last week of the regular season and playoffs coming up too. And quite frankly, if I'm Blissfield, I'm hoping I don't run into Ida again.
Gary?
Well, a team that might run into Ida very, very early is Erie Mason. So that, too, would be very interesting. Frank, you pretty much called it last week. 1 week ago today, you called this game was going to be tight, and maybe Ida might pull it off. They almost did. So kudos to you. I've been calling Ida sneaky good all year. They've kind of made me eat my words a little bit, but I think they're coming back into that, into that being sneaky good again. So, yeah, Ida's a team that no one's going to want to play in the playoffs, I'll tell you that.
Well, I know
one more thing I would like to add, too. I'm starting to think that this might sound kind of crazy, but this year's Ida team could be kind of like SMCC from a couple years ago, team that looked pretty young, looked kind of left for dead at one point, and then they kind of went on a bit of a run in the postseason. And I'm thinking that this is an Ida team that may have arrived a year early because you look at some of their key players, Nate Miller, Luke Levicki, Kirby Karsten, those guys are only sophomores. And they've got a lot of really good juniors like Owen Sampson too. So I think maybe this Ida team's starting to come together earlier than expected. So,
well, and Gary, you say it's a team that maybe nobody wants to play. Our projections, my school, Advanced Tech, is in the same district as them. And the way I'm looking at it is it's going to be a matchup between Advanced Technology Academy and Ida in the first round. It could be at our place. We don't have a place, but our home field, or it could be at their place, depending on the results this weekend. So, when looking at that game, it looked like Ida would be a little easier to handle if they only ran the ball. But when you see their quarterback throwing for a couple of 100 yards, it's like, oh, goodness, what do you do? So, but we'll get to that hurdle when we get there. Let's jump to the Monroe-Bedford game. Monroe 28, Bedford 6. Gary, why don't you lead off on this?
I think the better team won. I think, do we all pick Monroe?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
The better team won. Monroe's a quality team this year. It just happens to be Division I's extremely tough this year with many quality teams. But Monroe was one of those quality teams, and we all expected them to beat Bedford, and they did just that. They took care of business.
Frank?
I think it was just another day at the office for Monroe. I mean, defensively, we know what they can do. I mean, offensively, Jacob Blosser has been the straw that stirs the drink for them. And, of course, obviously they got Chelsea coming up, which we'll get to a little later in picks. But, I mean, Monroe's a quality Division I team. The problem is they're in the same district as Cass Tech, which I would say right now I wouldn't be surprised if those two meet for the district championship, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I guess there was no surprise for me with Monroe. I've been impressed with them all year. They just ran into a really, really good Saline team, that we've talked about. So no surprise there. Let's kind of go one of the newer teams that we cover. Riverview Gable Richard played, they're undefeated. They played undefeated Bishop Foley. GR won this game 42-14. Guys, any thoughts on this? I mean, I really didn't expect it to be close. I know what Foley had coming back, and even though they're having a solid season, I just didn't see them being as good as the Pioneers, so it didn't surprise me. Frank, thoughts?
Can we say that Riverview Gabriel Richard may be the best team in Division VII, not named Pewamo Westphalia?
Or New Lothrop, maybe.
Or New Lothrop. I mean, I'd have the Pioneers as my dark horse in D7 right now.
Gary?
Well, I'm hoping SMCC gets to play them because I think it'd be a fun game, and it would be a good matchup. So I'm hoping that happens in the district finals, even better. And that means one of us got by Jackson, Lumen, Christie. But yeah, Mickelson has done a great job there. I mean, my goodness, he should be coach of the year or something. He's really turned that thing around, and he's built a program.
Yeah, he really has. He's a good coach and a good guy. He has some really good players who've been there quite a while, playing on the varsity. But Nick Shahowski is a game changer, and why teams continue to kick or punt to him. He almost scores every time he fields a punt or a kick. Just kick it out of bounds, or onside kick is the better way to do it.
Are you listening, Adam? Are you listening?
Yeah, I think he's scored 5 or 6 times on kickoff or punt return this year.
Well, it's kind of like when Michigan played Notre Dame in '89, and they were told don't kick to the rocket, and what did they do? So they just need to treat it. They just need to treat this. What's his name, Chris?
Nick Shahowski.
Nick Shahowski. They need to treat him like he's the Rocket, Ishmael, or Devin Hester in his prime, or any other great kick returner that's played the game.
Okay, that's probably a good way to go. All right, let's look at one more score. It was the game of the week. Erie Mason 56, Sand Creek 38. Frank, your thoughts on this game?
Outcome really wasn't that huge of a surprise. I just think Erie Mason showed how much of a dominant team they are this year in the Tri-County Conference. I know they actually trailed for a little bit in the game, but they just put their heads down and went to work, and defensively they managed to make adjustments and get stops when they needed to, and that was really their last big hurdle to clear before postseason play. And I really think that this is a team that could do some damage in Division VI this year.
Gary?
Yeah, Noah Boudry, big day, 400-plus total yards from scrimmage. That's really something. He showed up in the big one. They were down. Mason was down 16-6 to Sand Creek, and I was worrying about my pick of Erie Mason, but yeah, they turned it on quickly. A big turnover cost Sand Creek. They were going in to score, and they fumbled it, and Mason turned around and scored. Big 14-point turnaround right there. That was kind of the game. And St. Pete couldn't recover, but great win by Erie Mason. I know Coach Boudry is very happy. His players got to be happy, and it was a statement win for them over the number 1 team in Division 8, and I'm just happy for Mason. Great win.
Yeah, I don't think it was a surprise. We all picked Erie Mason to win.
Yes.
but a good win nonetheless over a quality football team. So, all right, that's last week's games. Let's jump into our questions if we can, and I'm going to start with this one. Gary, your Falcons appear to be peaking right now. Can they win a district that includes Jackson, Lumen Christi, Riverview, Gable, Richard, and Grass Lake?
Well, I think if you ask the question to anybody that represents any of those 4 teams, I think they would say yes, that they could. So I would say yes, SMCC could. Of course, they're going to have to play outstanding. Who plays who matters. So it's so much to be. We know who's in the district. We know everybody's in the playoffs. But it's still very interesting who plays who avoids who. Eventually, if we play Lumen Christi, SCC plays Lumen Christi, that means Richard gets to avoid one of those teams and vice versa. So I think no one wants to play Lumen Christi. I mean, I know they're a little down this year, but not for Division 7. They're not down at all. So all about matchups. Can they beat Lumen Christi? Can they beat Richard? Sure. They could also lose, but they have to take care of the football. And they are starting to come together. Confidence, I think, is the key, and they're starting to figure things out.
Yeah, and I think you could get a shakeup in the district if GR loses to Everest in the Catholic League Championship, which is a very good possibility, and then if SMCC beats an undefeated Detroit Southeastern, you see a flip-flop in the points there.
CC can't get to 1. That's the problem. I did the math. Best case scenario, they cannot get to 1. Lumen Christi can though, because of all their playoff points.
At 3-3, they could get to 1.
So they would go to, well, they're 2-3 now, aren't they? They didn't play last week. No, they won't actually. Let me scratch that. I had them at 4-2 when I did this earlier, but I forgot that they forfeited. But SMCC can't catch Richard.
Okay, let's move on. We got to move on to the next one. Frank, your Blue Streaks lost a tough one to Blissfield last week and sit at 2-3. They have a tough matchup Friday with Brooklyn Columbia Central. Could they be a sleeper in the district that includes Blissfield, Erie Mason, and Clinton? I know we kind of touched on it already. Is there anything you want to add to that? I mean, they are. They could win that thing, I think.
They very well could. I mean, given the way they've played the last couple of weeks, and not to try and spoil my pick for this coming game, but after I saw them lose to Blissfield that close, I'm thinking, okay, they got their guts ripped out in that game, losing a close one. They're going to have to get back up off the mat and play Columbia Central, who's been their kryptonite the last few years. And then I find out come Saturday, Columbia Central loses to Hudson by 1 point, who Ida beat.
I think Columbia Central's got a case of the vid. So to your point, Gary, yeah,
that game got moved to Saturday because of someone in a special ed classroom at Columbia came down with COVID.
Okay.
Even though they did not have any contact with anyone on the football team, they just decided, you know what, we're just going to close everything down just to be safe. But everything's fine because Ida ended up having to shut down too because of staff members in the elementary having COVID, even though nobody came in contact with the football team. They decided, you know what, let's just play it safe. Hey, clean everything up, sterilize everything. And
all right, so I'm not going to cut – well, I got to cut you off. We got to keep moving because we're running out of time already. Let's go on to the next question. Gary, with the playoffs expanding to include everyone, do you anticipate any 8 seeds opting out of playing a 1 seed? And would you blame them?
I do expect it, and I think it's kind of already happened. I think teams have opted out that I know they're going to get blasted. I do think it's definitely going to happen, and do I blame them? No. They can schedule a game against a team that they can compete with if they choose to, 1 game, and I think that's better for the program than to go on the road and lose 40-0 in the first quarter, and that does nothing for nobody. So I think it will happen, and no, I don't blame them.
Okay. Frank, last question, and then we'll go into a question for both of you. Whiteford, Summerfield, and Britton Deerfield are in a district with undefeated Detroit Southeastern and 3-2 Detroit Leadership Academy. Can any of these TCC teams win that district?
I don't really feel good about it because I think Whiteford is pretty young this year. Britton Deerfield they battled some injuries early on, and Summerfield had their struggles as well. I'm not so sure they're going to match up very well with the Detroit Southeastern or a Leadership Academy, because we said Southeastern's unbeaten, and I believe they are in the top 10 in Division 8, if I remember what Gary put in his rankings. Leadership, I really don't know too much about, other than that they're 2-2.
And I can tell you a little bit about them. Detroit Leadership is a sleeper. Their losses are to undefeated Summit Academy and undefeated Warren, Michigan Collegiate. They play a pretty good brand of football. They're from the west side. They've got tough kids. They're pretty well coached. They're going to be a team that nobody wants to play in that district. So, all right, guys, this is the question for the both of you, and I'll let you answer it. And I think you guys know what's coming. Nick McCabe wrote an article calling out a few schools for schedule manipulation. Specifically, the one I wanted to throw out there is, what are your thoughts on Rouge dropping Detroit Catholic Central, and because of COVID concerns from Catholic Central's game with Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and then they pick up Taylor. Gary, you want to go?
Without knowing all the specifics, and I read the article by McCabe. That article took guts because he cannot be 100% sure of anything he said necessarily. However, I'm not going to call Coach Parker dishonest, a liar, or whatever. I'm not going to call him that. I have no idea. You have to take it for face value. They were concerned for their team for COVID. Okay, if that's your worry, I take your word for it. The problem I have is even though Detroit Catholic Central offered all their players take tests, they offered this and that and everything. Okay. But the problem I have is they then went and scheduled Taylor, who's basically an automatic W. And
Division One.
And right, Division One, so more playoff points. That's the part that I don't like. I don't agree with, and that kind of stinks. It smells. So it is what it is. But I wish Rouge would have just either played out their contract with Detroit Catholic Central or not played at all.
Frank, real quick.
I'm pretty much in the same boat as Gary on this one, because I'm not going to go out and throw Corey Parker under the bus, because he's somebody that I have a lot of respect for as a coach. But the whole thing with playing a crappy Division I team in Taylor does smell like a tuna fish sandwich, and I don't mean that in a good way. But it is what it is. I mean, but just like what Gary said, you had a contract, either you stick to it or don't play at all.
That's fair, and I don't know Coach Parker at all. I've spoken to him on the phone here and there over the years because of some of his athletic director duties he has working under Chester Franklin there. The question I have is, I don't know why Taylor didn't play Southgate Anderson. Southgate Anderson had a situation to where the team they were playing, Wyandotte, right, Roosevelt, wasn't playing because of COVID situation, quarantine. Southgate and Taylor are both in the same league. They were supposed to play week 1 through 3, and they're somewhere. Why didn't they play each other? To me, that just doesn't make any sense. That Taylor would pick up a game that they could not win. Maybe he's trying to see where his kids are at, but you probably found that out with Gibraltar Carlson already. So that's where I wonder to myself, why did they do that? So, okay, so that's the questions. Let me throw this out there. The winner of our Player of the Week poll was Jacob Blosser, the quarterback from Monroe High. Congratulations to him. I think he had about 40% of the vote. Gary, is that about right? And then,
yes, he did.
Okay, so he won by about 3%. So, okay, guys, we've got just over 14 minutes left. we have to pick games. I'm going to just throw them out there, and I hope all these games are happening. We'll see. You never know. I'm assuming that Wyandotte is back, and they will be playing Carlson. So 4-1 Carlson at 3-1 Wyandotte. Gary.
Well, I think Wyandotte wins big.
Frank?
I am going to go with Wyandotte in this one. I think that they are just too good.
Okay, I'm going to go with Carlson there because Wyandotte's been off for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to go with a little Marauder power. So, okay, next. Britton Deerfield, 1-4 at 4-1. Adrian Madison. Frank?
I've seen Adrian Madison in the last couple of weeks. I know their leading rusher is out, but they've got a couple. But they're pretty deep at running back, so I'm going with the Trojans.
Gary?
They can pull the upset here. Give me the Patriots.
All right, very good. I'm going to go with Madison. So, all right, next, big one, tough one here. We're going with 0-5 Pittsford at 5-0 Erie Mason. Gary?
Pittsburgh.
All right, Frank?
Gary, are you serious right now?
Pittsburgh. They're going to pull it off. I'm getting 70 points.
This one might be the closest 100-0 game. Give me Erie Mason.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, we've got less than 10 minutes. I was off on my timer.
Let's do it.
Let's go 3-2 Whiteford at 1-4 Summerfield. Frank?
Rivalry game. Throw the records out the window. I am going to go with Summerfield to pull off an upset in this one.
All right, Gary?
I, too, like Summerfield. Coach Mensing's getting away from that double wing, going shotgun pass. I don't know what's going on over there by and out of a lake. Summerfield.
All right, I'm going to go with Whiteford. Okay, 2-3 Ida at 2-3 Columbia Central. Gary?
Ida. Tough call here, but I'm going to go Ida.
Frank?
I've gone back and forth on this one, but then I realized that Columbia Central is not that good scoring. So I'm going with my homeboys.
Very good. I'll go with the Blue Streaks as well. And I'm going to call that a lock. Okay, let's go 2-3 Hudson at 2-3 Dundee. Gary?
Another tough game. Hudson played a good game last week. However, I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Frank?
I'll go with Dundee. They're at home, and it's homecoming.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dundee too. Okay, let's go to it's a big game here. 5-0 Chelsea at 4-1 Monroe. Frank?
Ooh. I'm tempted to go Chelsea here, but Monroe's at home. They're Division I. Chelsea's Division III, so I'm going with Monroe.
Gary?
Chelsea is number one, Division III. Monroe, I looked at their Division I. I'd put Monroe probably about 18 or so in Division I. I'm going number one, Division III, going Bulldogs, Chelsea.
Okay, I'm going to go with the Trojans and Monroe. I think they're pretty doggone good. All right, let's go 4-1 Woodhaven at 3-2 Bedford. Gary?
Woodhaven. Warriors.
Okay, Frank?
I'm going Woodhaven as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Woodhaven too. I'm gonna throw this one in here, even though we're running out of time. Mason 5-0 at Williamston. 5-0. Frank?
Good game.
Is Mason Division III?
Yes.
And Williamston's Division IV? I'm going with the Division III team. Give me Mason.
Gary?
This is a great game. I'm going Mason too.
Mason as well. Okay. Well, heck, I'll go with Williamston then. They're at home. Actually, my game's on Saturday. I may call up there and see if I can go up to that game. I imagine that's going to be a great game.
Great game.
All right, let's go 5-0 Everest Collegiate against 5-0 Gabriel Richard at Novi Catholic Central. Gary, your pick.
Great game, playing at a beautiful facility in Novi. Wow. I'm not going to go against Richard. I'm going to go Riverview, but Everest is a real threat in Division 8.
Frank?
I'll go with the Pioneers. I've been saying that they're a dark horse in Division 7, and I'm staying on that bus.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Collegiate here, Everest. I watched them beat the Pioneers last year in the Ice Bowl, but they've got something cooking up there under Coach Prechnicki, who is the son of former Flat Rock head coach. So, anyways, let's go to Ann Arbor Huron, 1-2 at 0-5 Flat Rock. Frank.
Oh, Ann Arbor Huron has always struggled. I know Flat Rock's struggling. I'm going to go River Rats in this one just for no other reason other than my gut.
Okay, Gary?
Rooting for the Rams, but picking the River Rats.
Same way, rooting for the Rams, picking the River Rats. Okay.
I should have said that I'm rooting for the Rams too.
All right, we got about 4 minutes here, guys. Jefferson, 0-5 at Detroit. Pershing, 3-2. Gary?
Pershing.
Frank?
I am going to go with the Bears. They get off the schneid. Pershing hasn't beaten anybody with a pulse.
I would love it. Playoff points, baby. Let's go Bears.
I'm going with the Doughboys. I'm going with Pershing.
Yeah.
Okay. 2-3 Clintondale at 2-3 GI. Grozeal. Frank?
I'll go Grozeal on this one. They're going to bounce back.
Gary?
Yeah, Grozeal hangs 50.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Red Devils as well. Okay, 2-3 Airport is traveling to 2-3 Melvindale. Head coach for Melvindale is Derek Anderson, graduate of Airport 2001. Gary, who are you picking here?
I'm going with the Jets of Airport. Let's go. Let's go Huron League.
Frank?
Jets, Jets, even though I actually have a good friend who's a Melvindale grad, and I'm happy to see that Melvindale's doing better, but I think Airport's just too much better.
Yeah, I tell you what, Melvindale's got a beautiful field over there. It's gorgeous. If you ever get a chance to get over there, it's gorgeous. Beautiful. All right. Thurston forfeited to Riverview, so we don't have to pick that game. Not surprised to see that happen. Okay, 1-3 Tecumseh at 4-1 Milan. Frank?
I'll take Milan in a big way, even
Gary?
though Greg Dolson is a good friend of mine.
I don't know, Frank. I'm going to pick Milan because I'm going to be rooting for Milan, but Tecumseh's got game. This will be a close game.
Okay, I'm going to go with Milan as well. I think it'll be a good game. Okay, we got 2 more games to pick. We got SMCC 3-2 at Detroit Southeastern, 5-0. Noontime kickoff over on the east side off of Mac over there near the assembly plant north, Jeep plant over there in Detroit. Gary, what's your call?
I'm going with the homeboys. I think they control the ball and, control the game with their offense. Give me the Falcons.
Frank?
I'm going with my adopted, gutty, gritty, resilient Falcons.
Okay. So the Falcons are playing the Jungleers, which may be the greatest nickname in the history of high schools. I love that nickname.
The Hematites. The Hematites.
Okay.
The Copper Kings.
We're not talking Speed Boys.
Hey,
right?
what about my blue streaks?
All right, so my pick's going to be I'm going to go with SMCC. And then our last game in I guess we'll call it the Cakes by Stephanie game of the week. And just because there are a lot in there, but it's 4-1 Huron at 5-0 Crestwood. Huron needs this game to get them out of that 5 position and move up a little bit and get a home game. And that could happen over Crestwood, who's undefeated at this point. Guys, we got 1:20. Frank, make your pick.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one because I think they've played some much tougher competition than Crestwood has because Crestwood's in the Western Wayne, which is a conference I have never been sold on.
Gary?
With good reason, Frank. This will be a good game. I'm going with Huron, though. Good game, though.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. And I think it's going to be a tough one, but I think Huron pulls it out in the end. So that's it. Gary, want to say anything? Sponsors? real quick. We got about 45 seconds.
Sponsors, RKD Lawn Service, absolutely. We get to love our sponsors. RKD Lawn Service, go see Jeff over there. Winterized, whatever we got to do here in the fall. Get that fertilizer down. Get them set up for next year to come mow your lawn. Of course, we have the Cakes by Stephanie game of the week. Who doesn't love Cakes by Stephanie, for crying out loud? Varsity Athletics, Randy Wyndham. Who else we got? One more. Joe
Bellino. Joe Bellino.
Oh, yeah, Joe Bellino.
Vote Joe Bellino.
All right, guys, that's it. We're going to wrap up and log off of here, Zoom, FridayNightVictors.com. Thanks, everybody.